Now it's being recorded. Okay, so the recording and the resources used during today's webinar will be available, and that will be on our newsletters, webinars, and workshops page, Friday, August 20th. And that's a goal for us, Friday, August 20th. There are many divisions in DESE required to process videos and upload to our website, but know that it's a high priority to get these webinars uploaded. And if it's not up by Friday, it will be up on Monday. Sometimes it depends with everyone being in the office at the right time. Third thing is attendees are muted upon entry. You are not allowed to unmute yourself during the presentation, but we will have a live Q&A session following the information presented, and I'll adjust some meeting settings and explain how the Q&A session will work before we move on to that section of the webinar. So today I am joined by Kyle Heislin, Procurement Specialist, and Barbara Shaw, Coordinator of Food and Nutrition Services. Together we will be discussing administrative and procurement review cycles and waivers, procurement, and summer food service program reimbursement rates. All right, so I'll be getting started with a brief update on the administrative and procurement review cycles. So Missouri operates a 5-year administrative review cycle and a 6-year procurement review cycle. You can see in the table that Missouri first transitioned to the 5-year administrative review cycle in school year 1920. And the first year of a new procurement review cycle begins in school year 22-23. Missouri is required to conduct an administrative review for all LEAs enrolled in NSLP within the 5-year period. Missouri is also required to conduct a procurement review for all LEAs enrolled in NSLP within the 6-year period. And a procurement review is required every 3 years for LEAs contracted with food service management companies. So Missouri DESE SNS received approval for an oversight waiver in February 2021, earlier this year. So what this did was it approved a 6-year extension to our 5-year AR cycle. You see this in the table. This lands in school year 24-25. This waiver also approved for LEAs contracted with FSMCs to a 6-year procurement review cycle. So DESE SNS is working towards aligning administrative and procurement reviews for LEAs. This doesn't mean that they will occur at the same time, but the goal is to have both reviews happening during the same school year. So we are aiming to achieve this starting a new 5-year cycle starting in 25-26. That administrative reviews and procurement reviews will be aligned. An additional oversight by the state agency may occur in order to achieve this alignment. So the administrative review list for school year 21-22 is now available on our webpage. So you should see that now. And because they're aligned this year, the procurement review list will be the same, and that will be up later this week as well. Okay, so I'll be explaining 2 waivers that pertain to administrative reviews this year. The first waiver is the nationwide waiver to allow administrative reviews for school food authorities that only operate seamless summer option during school year 21-22. This waiver provides the state agency with flexibility and guidance to conduct administrative reviews of SEMA summer option programs this school year. It also allows these reviews to count towards our review cycle. We did not see this waiver last year, so the state agency was confined to reviewing schools only operating National School Lunch Program. If you're operating SSO this year and you see your LEA on the administrative review list, this waiver is how we are allowed to continue our state agency oversight. So for those of you who operated SEMA summer option before the COVID-19 pandemic, you may recall receiving an administrative review of SSO during your summer operations. An administrative review of SSO that occurs in the summer is not the same as this administrative review of SSO that will occur during school year 21-22. The latter is a full administrative review. Some sections are waived or answered differently according to SSO operations. This mostly impacts our team of specialists who will be conducting a slightly altered version of the administrative review. So what you will see waived during an AR of SSO during school year 21-22. Most obviously, the review of certification and benefit issuance documentation is waived. The review of paid lunch equity is waived. And for special provision schools, there are sections or questions that are waived. Verification will be reviewed if your LEA receives meal benefit applications and then must complete the verification process. If your LEA does not receive meal benefit applications, verification can't be completed, so that section's waived. So the second waiver is the waiver of on-site monitoring requirements. This waiver waives the requirement to conduct monitoring activities on-site for LEAs and state agencies. The requirements for state agencies to monitor and LEAs to self-monitor remain in place. This waiver just allows these monitoring activities to occur off-site. This waiver is effective now. We had this last year too, and it remains in effect 30 days until 30 days after the end of the public health emergency. So I'll split this waiver up into two pieces. We'll talk about LEAs and the state agency. Okay, so for LEAs, this waiver addresses the on-site monitoring requirement. For LEAs operating National School Lunch Program during school year 21-22, the on-site monitoring form must be completed by LEAs with more than one school building prior to February 1st. This form must be completed for each school building operating National School Lunch Program and for 50% of schools operating school breakfast program. A new on-site monitoring form was developed for LEAs operating SSO during school year 21-22. It looks very similar to the one for National School Lunch Program, just some minor adjustments and additions were made. LEAs will follow the same guidelines and due date for the on-site monitoring form this year. So let's talk about where you can find these forms. Right. So on our DESE SNS website, you can access the on-site monitoring forms in two places. Under the Financial and Administrative Services list, that green header, you may access forms through the Guidance and Resources link or School Year 2021-22 Resources link. So after clicking the Guidance and Resources link, you will select Forms, and then here you will see all of the on-site monitoring forms. for NSLP operators, for SSO during school year 21-22 operators, and for SSO during summer operators. As you can see, I circled on the screen. After clicking the school year 2021-22 resources, you can access the on-site monitoring form for SSO under Feeding Through Seamless Summer option resources. So these are the two places you can access these forms. And again, they must be completed by February 1st, regardless of your operations. So now let's talk about how this waiver impacts us, the state agency. Okay, so this waiver allows state agencies to conduct administrative reviews off-site while utilizing best practices. For example, specialists may conduct a desk audit and utilize video conferencing. The state agency has discretion to conduct administrative reviews on-site in order to complete effective and accurate oversight. So DESE FNS is following recent CDC recommendations and is requiring nutrition program specialists and specialists from our contracted company, Child Nutrition Resource, to wear a mask while on site, regardless of vaccination status. So this is all from me for now, and I'll pass it over to Kyle to continue with procurement.
Hello, I hope everyone can hear me. This is Kyle Heisland, and today I'm going to be discussing procurement reviews. I would like to start by letting you know that our office continues to monitor the supply chain disruptions as schools are working toward reopening for the school year 21-22. We are listening to several school food service operators concerned about possible challenges in purchasing and receiving food through their prime vendors. Our office is focusing on how we can provide relief and additional flexibility as schools navigate supply chain issues. We are facilitating conversations with industry, national office, and school districts to work toward finding solutions. Next slide, please. The non-competitive procurement method is one strategy to provide flexibility to make emergency purchases to continue providing nutritious school meals for children during the school year 21-22. LEAs may conduct emergency non-competitive procurements to quickly replace unexpected contract gaps and alternative sources or products. This method can be included in your procurement plan or policy, and I will show you that later. While the LEAs do not need approval to utilize the non-competitive procurement method during an emergency, they do need to keep some documentation to support its use. Documentation to support a supply chain disruption include you explaining why the emergency procurement is necessary, the proof of distributor or processor's inability to provide appropriate food or meet meal pattern requirements, and a brief description of goods or services, including the estimated amount of the procurement. This will be the documentation needing during the procurement review, which we will go over next. We will go over the different steps in a procurement review now. I will go in and show you how to log in for the review, as well as where and what to upload. Then we will go to a completed review so that you can see exactly what information we need and where we would like to have that information uploaded. Federal law mandates that each LEA that uses federal funds must go through a procurement review every 6 years. To start the review, CN Resource or DESI will send a letter indicating the review is open and ask you to upload your procurement plan, code of conduct, vendor paid list, and from the previous school year, and complete a procurement table on web app system. Again, I will show you where this information goes in a bit. Once you have entered the information, DESI CN Resource will choose vendors from the micro, small, and large purchases, and if you have an FSMC, from the procurement table and ask for additional documentation. The LEAs then upload the documentation requested from the vendors selected for the review. We will then make sure the correct information is uploaded and it meets the specifics of the law. If it does not, we will offer technical assistance on how you can more clearly become compliant, or we give you a corrective action. A corrective action means additional information must be uploaded and or a plan needs to be developed showing how you will meet the requirements of the law in the future. After successfully uploading the information, the LEA will receive a letter indicating they're in compliance with the procurement section of the law and the review is complete. We will then close the procurement review in the system, and the system will update the years for the next review. So now that we have talked about completing our procurement review, let's go log in. I'm going to transition to live internet for the next portion of the presentation. Before we log in, I would like for you to show you some examples of the documentation we need to see for the procurement review. First, I'm going to the DESI website. Hovering over the administrators section and clicking on food and nutrition services.
Hey, Kyle.
Yes,
Kayla.
ma'am.
I'm not seeing if your screen if you're sharing it.
Okay. Hang on just 1 second. I'm having some technical issues. Okay, now she said we could see my screen. So first I'm going to the DESI website, which is desi.mo.gov, hovering over the administrators tab, and then clicking on food and nutrition services. You will then go under this part that says quick links. And for procurement, you'll click on the procurement. This is the food nutrition services portion of DESI website. If you're looking at something dealing with procurements, this is the place to go. Here we have housed many requirements for procurement, including the Buy American provision, and the small purchase log and lots of other information on here. If you go to the top, you will need to click on the procurement review information. This page deals specifically with procurement reviews. The initial information talks about what I had discussed earlier in the presentation. If you go to the bottom, you will see the 2021 list that I need to update that received a procurement review this year. I would like to start by clicking on the sample procurement plan. This plan was updated and meets the specifics of the law, as well as gives directions on how to meet the requirements of the law. You can see the portions highlighted in yellow. These are to be filled out by the LEA. If you scroll down, you will see the general procurement procedures, minority and women businesses portion, as well as the Buy American provision. An important part of this is under G and H. Here, the LEAs need to enter their specific LEA procurement thresholds. Many schools have thresholds that are less than the state and federal thresholds. Remember, you must go with the lowest thresholds when procuring goods and services. For example, the state federal micro purchase threshold is 10,000, but the LEA's threshold may be 3,000. In this case, the micro purchase requirements must be adhered to for any purchases under 3,000. This is the same with the small purchase threshold. The state and federal threshold is 250,000, but an LEA may be 15,000. So any purchase between 3,001 and 15,000, the LEA must use the small purchase procedure. Any purchases over 15,000 in this example would utilize the formal procurement procedure. Below the table where you enter the threshold, there is a section on how to properly administer the micro, small, and formal procurement procedures. There are also sections for different areas of procurement, such as the non-competitive procurement, emergency procurement that I talked about before. These are the steps that you need to utilize to be under the law with the non-competitive or emergency procurement methods. If you scroll down further, you will see there is the emergency procurement, I'm sorry. If you scroll down further, you will see appendices, including checklist on what you're looking for when you make small purchases. This is a small purchase checklist, a small purchase log, instructions for completing the phone quote. Again, these are just examples, but we wanted to put it out there for anyone using them. We have the email quotes and so on. When we finish off with the checklist, we have the formal procurement checklist for the LEAs. This is very important because it paves the way for the LEA to properly procure goods and services at all different levels of procurement. Now let's go to the code of conduct. Again, this is an example the LEA can use to meet the requirements of the code of conduct. The LEA's code of conduct needs to be uploaded into the system, and I will show you that in a minute. Here's an example of the vendor paid list. You'll see an Excel spreadsheet showing the example of this. We need to see the vendor name, the amount the purchase date, and description of the purchase. You will need to do these individually by vendor and then total them at the end of each vendor. Please use Excel document and upload the Excel documents to the system. Now let's go back to the main DESE page. And log in. You go to the web application. Here you go with the web apps to log in. Then you'll click on Food and Nutrition Services and continue. At the top of the page, you'll see a link with compliance. Then you'll go to Procurement Review Tracking. Today, my example is going to be looking at a review that was completed this year. Click on Details and you get to the Procurement Review dashboard. If you look under this bottom section of the review tools, you can click on the LEA contact information and click View. You will see the update. You can see and update the LEA contact information. These are the contacts that we will be asking for documentation from the review. Now, if you click back and scroll down to the second last line, here's where you can go see where this is where the notification letter was uploaded. You will go to the bottom of the page after you see this notification letter and click Add Attachments. A box will come up where you can then upload your procurement plan, code of conduct, and vendor paid list. If you look at the third line under the LEA procurement table and click on this, this is where you will enter the information from your vendor paid list into the appropriate methods of purchasing. This example has 9 micro purchases, 2 small purchases, and 1 FSMC. If you click on the micro purchase, you will see at the top left, Add Vendor. You will click on that and add all of the vendors you had in the information from your vendor paid list. We will cross-check the vendor paid list with this to make sure everything is accurate. You can then go in and do this for the small, formal, and FSMC contract portion of your vendor paid list. After you go through this information, we will go select some vendors that we want to see invoices and documentation on. If you look on the right, you will see we ask for documentation from Target and Walmart in this example. You'll then go to the review attachment portion of the dashboard and upload this information. And here you can see the Target and the Walmart information. The fourth line down is the documentation for us as we review the forms. If you click on Details, then View by the general procedures, you will see exactly the requirements. We are making sure there are documents that are in your documents you have uploaded. And you can go back and you can see exactly what we're looking for in those, as well as the small, large, and FSMC portion as well. So now that we have looked at the documentation under review forms and have verified documents meet the requirements, if they have not, we go in and we'll give technical assistance and make corrective actions that the LEA must address before the review is complete.
Thank you for your patience. We're trying to get Barb's audio connected. Give us a few minutes. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I think Kyle's technical difficulties were a bit contagious, so I think I'm on now. Good afternoon. So our office has been quickly working, as you know, to implement the nationwide flexibility for schools operating seamless summer option to receive the higher SFSP reimbursement rates. Some of the issues that we had just right off the bat is our office does not administer the summer food service program. So our systems are not set up to pay out this different higher reimbursement rate. So when the waiver flexibility came out, it was left up to each state agency if we had the capability to successfully implement the higher reimbursement rate. So we did quickly start to work with our developers in May, and we do have a module built, and it's going to be used to determine the months and the rate to accurately pay out the SSO meals. Unfortunately, this was not ready in time to pay July SSO claims, so therefore, starting in August, schools will receive the higher reimbursement rates for SSO meals. So next, I'm going to walk you through how the higher reimbursement rate will be paid out starting in August. Switch slides, please. A little delay on my end. So DESE Food Nutrition Services did elect to participate in the nationwide waiver to allow the summer food service program reimbursement rates during school year 21-22. This waiver allows school food authorities to claim SSO meals at the SFSP higher reimbursement rate. Severe need reimbursement will not be applied towards the SSO meals, nor will the additional 7 cents be applied towards the SSO meals. These two reimbursements are only applied to the NSLP and regular school breakfast meals claimed under regular National School Lunch Program. The higher rates will be applied towards SSO claims submitted beginning in August and be in effect through June of 2022. July meals will unfortunately be reimbursed at the rates in accordance with NSLP and school breakfast program. Go to the next slide, please. School food authorities across the nation did report an increased operational costs during the pandemic. As many of these costs will remain in place as schools begin the new school year, these higher reimbursement rates are being provided as additional support to continue serving meals to children and hopefully help recover financially. This flexibility has been provided by Nationwide Waiver 86 to allow summer food service program reimbursement rates in the school year 21-22. The rates are being used, the rates being used are the rural or the self-prep site rates, which on the screen, I have indicated what the SFSP rate is for breakfast and for lunch. These rates can also be found on our DESE Food Nutrition Services website under reimbursement rates. The federal summer food service reimbursement rates are effective starting in January 21 through December 31st, 2021. So we will update those rates whenever they are published in the Federal Register in January. Slide, please. So soon all schools will begin to notice the summer foods or the SFSP rate dashboard in the 2021-2022 application packet. This dashboard will automatically populate as complete for all LEAs, regardless if you are operating SSO for this next school year. This dashboard will automatically apply the higher SFSP reimbursement rates to your SSO meal claims. So this is just a snapshot on what you shortly here in the next week or so, what you should start to see on that application packet. Should not have to do anything. If you go to the next slide. So located in the SFSP rate dashboard are the claiming months. This control table is going to already be defaulted to a yes for each month to allow using the higher SFSP rate for the reimbursement. The SSO claim reimbursement calculations look at both the completed SSO application and this table to determine the appropriate reimbursement amount for each month. So when submitting the SSO claim starting in August, you'll want to make sure again that you are in the correct school year to start that submission of your August SSO claim. In the next slide, I have a screenshot of what that looks like. So when submitting an SSO claim for August and September, you'll want to make sure that you are clicking on the school year 2020-21, since that claim and SSO building application for August and September are still located within the school year 2021 LEA application packet. So in August, when you submit a claim, you're going to notice the higher SFSP reimbursement rate for breakfast and lunch for those SSO meals. So that's a basic general overview of what our office is doing to implement this higher SFSP rate. If you do have any questions on the dashboard or completion of that SSO application packet, we are still working through being able to open up that SSO application packet. It should be done shortly. Just hang tight and our office will continue to update you as that packet becomes available. Go to the next slide. I just wanted to take a minute and discuss some of the supply chain disruptions. Our office does continue to monitor the supply chain disruptions. As Kyle discussed earlier, you may utilize the non-competitive procurement method to make emergency purchases due to current disruptions in the supply chain. By utilizing the non-competitive procurement method, you are not required to go through the steps of the of a competitive procurement process like you normally would be. This means that you are not required to obtain 2 or more bids or quotes in order to make a purchase. You may select this option, for example, if a vendor or a food item or supplies that you previously procured using a competitive process is all of a sudden no longer available or is going to be significantly delayed. We do continue to hear from the prime vendors that warehouse staffing, equipment, and truck driver shortages are causing burdens and disruptions to service. It doesn't necessarily, we don't see that the food supply is an issue. It seems like it's coming from more staffing at the warehouse and then truck driver shortages to make those delivery routes. If you are being impacted by these disruptions, we have spoke to quite a few schools over the last couple weeks, but if you are being impacted and we haven't talked to you, please let us know so that we know where this is happening, that it's happening to you, and we can provide any additional support that you need at this time. We understand there are product delays and shortages, and we encourage and support your choice to find an alternative item. We just ask that you document any justification for purchasing alternative food items due to the shortages and delays. Keep in mind that there is no regulatory requirement that schools purchase food items with child nutrition labels or product formulation statements. It is only a requirement that the school has documentation to show that the product meets the meal pattern. So per regulations, our DESE review staff is required to review food crediting documentation such as food labels, child nutrition labels, or information from the food buying guide for child nutrition programs, or bid documentation to ensure compliance with the meal pattern. So definitely utilize the food buying guide to help you determine meal contribution amounts. If you have to purchase a food item that doesn't have a child nutrition label, just so that you can purchase an alternative or equivalent type of item. Don't be scared or afraid to make that purchase just because it doesn't come with the simple, easy see and label or product formulation statement. If you need help converting those products to meet the meal pattern, again, please contact our office, and we're willing to walk you through that process on utilizing that food buying guide. So food items listed in the food buying guide can be served without any further meal contribution documentation beyond what's listed in the food buying guide. There are many options listed in the food buying guide that can be purchased at a local grocery store. If you are concerned about the food items that are purchased as the alternative, we just encourage you to document the supply chain issue that caused you not to be able to obtain regular items or your previously procured item, and provide any documentation for substituting items that were purchased because of the emergency situation. It will be just important this year to maintain any documentation that explains why you might not have the appropriate meal contribution information and the approach that you took to finding a solution to the supply chain disruptions. Again, please contact our office and we will support you through these issues. We continue to monitor this process, and we're continuing to push for flexibilities and guidance to help you through this. We realize that it's tough out there right now. Our office will not be looking to apply any fiscal action when there is a reasonable explanation as to why documentation is not complete. But you must document the problem and the alternative method that you chose. We understand that this is not the time to be reverting back to whole grain rich requirements, but that's just really outside of our control right now. We keep hearing that the disruptions that the industry is facing when it comes to whole grain rich products is that these products are going to continue to be shorted by the manufacturers. As a solution, schools may request the whole grain rich exemptions, and you may utilize the meal pattern waiver when it is needed. The entire food supply chain is broken right now across the country. We are supportive, we understand, and we are, like I said before, we're constantly digging for resources and flexibilities to help schools through this year so that you can continue to focus on providing the great meals and the services that you do to students. And like I said before, we are here to listen and support you. If you have any questions regarding today's information on the rates or if any food supply disruptions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm going to turn it back over to Kayla and go ahead and submit your questions for us. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Barb, and thanks, Kyle. So we'll now transition into a Q&A session. So let me get that set up. Okay. So before we start, I'd like to share how this can work. So you can submit questions two ways. The first is verbally. So I've adjusted the meeting settings, and you should be able to now unmute yourself. So I'd like to ask, if you want to ask a question verbally, use the raise hand function. And you can access this raise hand function by selecting reactions at the bottom of your meeting window. And I'll call on you, you unmute yourself, you ask your question. After you're done speaking, you just go back to that raise hand question to lower your hand. And then the second way is through the chat box. You're welcome to just type in a question in the chat, and I'll just kind of skim through and ask it out loud. So without further ado, let's get started with our Q&A session. So I see two questions in the chat, so I'll start with Shirley's question. And she just wants to make sure she understands. All of us will get the higher SFSP rate, rural self-prep site regardless. Barb, would you like to take that one? Oh no, let me try. Unmuting. Yeah, that works. That works. Okay, here's Barb.
Okay, so to answer your question, schools that are operating Seamless Summer Option, the SSO program, are going to be receiving the higher reimbursement rate. If you are not operating SSO and you are only operating regular National School Lunch Program, you will receive the rates in accordance with the National School Lunch Program. But if you are operating SSO, you are receiving the rates in accordance with the higher SFSP reimbursement rate.
All right, Shirley says awesome, thanks. Great. Okay, Karen asks, do you have any info regarding fresh fruit and vegetable program?
So I'll go ahead and answer that one too. This is another system development that we are dealing with, and it's coming. We're hoping to be able to test today and move that into production. So I would say that by next week we should have some information ready. Basically what is happening with FFVP this year, the delays are caused by inadequate free and reduced data from 2021 school year. So what we had to do is roll over applications for eligible schools from the 1920 school year. So this year we are rolling over those applications from 1920 year to be able to use for this year. So if you were approved and eligible in 1920, you will still continue to be able to operate FFVP. We're just a little late getting that application out, but once we get it out, we'll get caught back up.
Very cool. All right, so that looks like kind of Robin's question too.
You will be able to submit a claim, yes. We will go back and pay those claims, yes.
For freshman and vegetable.
Yes, we will allocate the money the same way, and you will be able to go back and submit a claim for August, yes.
All right, Vicky's question, is August the only month that we can submit our school year 2021 claim?
The SSO claims are available to submit and receive the higher reimbursement rate for August through June of 2022. August through June. So it's for the whole school year. But we were not able to pay in July, so it's going to start in August. And then you can submit them every month through June.
Right. That was the last question in our chat. I think I figured out how to allow participants to unmute themselves. So if you want to ask a question out loud, go for it. Unmute yourself and go for it. Vicki has another question. When will we get summer certificates? I believe, I think we just put this up there. The summer workshops this year are online, and we have a certificate available for that training as well. Check out our newsletters, webinars, and workshops page.
We can email that out. We'll email that out too, because we did just get those all posted. They were recorded, we got them posted, and I think we just posted one overarching certificate that you could total your hours. So we'll email a reminder out for you.
Yeah, that's good. Any other questions today? Okay, Patty Turner, are we still on for October deliveries? I want to say last I spoke with Lisa, yes. But that would be a good question for Lisa Percival and the donated foods team, just to ensure Gold Star's on track for October deliveries.
Gold Star is receiving trucks right now. They are getting set up. I'm pretty sure we're on track for October. They are amazing, and we're excited about their partnership, and I believe they are on track. Let's see if Lisa pop in. We'll get you the expert.
Are we still on for October deliveries? Patty Turner.
Yes, we are still on for October deliveries. The current warehouse, Gold Star is still completing all of their inventory changes and getting everything linked to a number, and we should be on target for beginning deliveries in October.
Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
All right. You don't have to stay if you don't want to. Thanks. All right, Liz Powell asks, when we do our training hours, do we just keep that in our personal training log, or do we submit those to someone at DESE? So you track that. If you receive an administrative review, this is part of administrative review, us ensuring your professional standards are tracked and you have enough hours. So we would only look at it if we audited you, but you track as you wish. Right, and I see Scott Morrison raised his hand, so I'm going to ask to unmute. Let's see if I can do this. All right, Scott, I marked allow participants to unmute themselves. If you find yourself on the participant list and you see a red microphone,
I think it's *6 on the phone. Called in.
or *6, I think it looks like looks to me like you're unmuted. Okay, well, if you can't figure out, Scott, why don't you put it in the chat? Kate has a question. Did we get documentation of multiple day live webinars? Kate, if you're talking about training documentation, we have a training certificate for these live webinars. We have a blank certificate. It says, Let's Talk Tuesday. It's on our newsletters, webinars, and workshops page. You fill out the title of the webinar that you watched and the date, and then it automatically gives you an hour and a half.
I wonder if she's talking about the summer workshops. If you're talking about the summer workshops, those were virtual. We did those for 2 days in June. All of the presentations were recorded, and those are on the website under newsletters, webinars, and workshops.
And like Barb said, we'll send an email out about
We can send a
availability of
link and that certificate.
Okay, Jen Cunningham, is there a place to find our next scheduled administrative review and procurement review? Do we need to wait until each year's list is posted? So we have, this year's list is posted on our website for administrative reviews. And that's on if you go on our webpage, under quick links, find administrative review, or excuse me, administrative